Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this installment of the monthly virtual job fair for partners webinar that we like to hold for y'all. Today, we're just going to probably keep things a little bit short and simple and to the point. As you see up on the screen, right here, we have the most recent updates that were rolled out since our last meeting last month. So I'm just going to briefly kind of cover those points here for you. I'll give you a brief demonstration of the ones that are appropriate. And then, of course, we'll open it up to any questions that you have. We'll cover a few things as far as the dashboard is concerned and how to add an event. Again, we are obviously aware that we've covered this in depth many times, multiple times. So we don't want to necessarily beat a dead horse, so to speak. But if you do have any questions, feel free to either throw them into the chat, or once we reach that Q&A portion of the event, feel free to obviously unmute yourself and ask any questions that you do have. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this here. You'll see up on your screen there the first set of updates, if you will, that we have rolled out. Were rolled out on March 8th. As you'll see there, just a few things again, and I'll pull these up so you can see the ones that obviously are applicable, but you'll see there, per the request, I believe, of one of the workforce partners that was on a few webinars ago, we actually added an optional field for job titles when you're actually creating the employer booth. So I'll go ahead and show you what this looks like here. So obviously this is the VJF administrative page. I know that David's covered this obviously in depth. But if we click on the Add Booth tab here, you'll see this new field that we added here. So enter the position titles for the open positions. Use a semicolon to separate each title. So you do have the option, or the employer obviously has the option to now also provide position titles for the open positions they have at their organization. And that will be reflected on the employer booth as well. So job seekers, when they go onto the employer booth, will be able to see the titles that are available. So that was the first kind of update, if you will, that was rolled out. If we go back to our updates page here, you'll see we also corrected an issue, and I don't think we'll demo this one, but again, you'll see here when removing files from the booth screen, it did used to automatically take you to the prompt to remove the file. Or actually, that's the new process. My apologies here. Before, users had to scroll up and find the prompt. We did get a lot of complaints about that. So we did fix that issue. Whenever you're removing files, you'll be automatically redirected to that prompt. You won't have to scroll up the top of the screen to be able to do so. You'll see the next point that we have here is the VJF booth management dashboard. You'll see we have put some updates in place there to enhance the responsiveness of booth and event export reports. As you can see here, these are the two tabs that we're referring to on the VJF administration page. So you'll see the export booths, export job fairs. Again, we won't necessarily demo this today, but again, you'll just notice that you should be able to download, those reports much quicker than before. So we have rolled that out as well. And then you'll see here, last under this column at least, another update to the booth management dashboard. Again, updated text of booth export to export booths, which is this right here, just to make things obviously a little bit more clear for folks that are seeking that information. And then you'll see the next update that we rolled out here was on the 18th. And you'll see we created a page with a table view of upcoming VJF events sponsored by Illinois WorkNet. And I do have that tab here. So you'll see here, comprehensive listing of all the events that will be facilitated by Illinois WorkNet. You'll see off to the right-hand side, we have direct links to the registration pages and also to the Zoom meeting information. So, folks will not only receive that information now when they register for the event, but if they're having issues locating them elsewhere, or you obviously as a workforce partner are having issues, finding a registration page or webinar for a certain event, you'll be able to find that here on this table. Again, you'll see to the left-hand side, we've got time listed, date, the city or area in which the event is going to be, kind of highlighting, if you will, the industry that it's targeting, and then last but not least, the employer name of the event. And how you can find this overall table of events, you'll see here we've got the virtual booths, the calendar, the table of events tab. This should be something that's familiar to you if you've done any work with the VJF tool on workNet. But I'll redirect us here to our main home screen, if you will. If you scroll down, again, we've got a virtual job fair section. You'll click on the search virtual job fairs tab. Scroll down and you'll see now we've got this new tab here. Before it was just the virtual booths in the calendar. We now have the table of events. So you just click on that and that's how you would get to that table. Again, the rest of this should be familiar to you. Again, if you've done any work with VJF on workNet, click on calendar. This is just our site-wide calendar for VJF events that are coming up here. They'll be all listed here as well. And then our virtual booth listings as we've had for quite some time. But again, if you want to see exactly which events we will be facilitating and want to partner with us, obviously, or find any information regarding to the events that might not have been sent to you or that you might have misplaced, this is going to be the place that we would direct you moving forward to find that information. And those are all the updates that we do have, at least as of the last month or so since we met last. One thing that I do want to go ahead and remind folks of is that you should be receiving a daily email or marketing email from us, just letting you know, obviously, which events are upcoming in your region. If an employer has requested assistance in holding a VJF, you should be getting a daily email letting you know that if there's any outstanding or pending events in your region. So just please be aware of that. A lot of times it gets rerouted to spam folders, things of that nature. So just be aware that email is being sent out, and it will let you know if there's any upcoming events or event requests that have been made in your region. I know we've covered this obviously in depth on prior webinars. I know David has done so quite extensively, but just please be aware. We do ask that when event requests come in, especially for the single employer events, that the local workforce partner agency assigned to that region kind of takes the lead as being, point person or persons on the event. Of course, will be looped into the process once you determine whether or not the employer wants to move forward with a virtual job fair. So I think what we'll go ahead and do here is just take a brief pause. And if you folks have any questions for myself, please feel free to ask now, and we'll do our best to make sure we get those answered for you. Okay, I do see that we have a question in the chat. Welcome, either Leah or Leah. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. I am a new business services rep and I am not receiving emails. How do I request to be involved? That is a great question, Leah. If you can drop your contact information in the chat, either myself or David will be sure to add you to that partner list. I'm also going to throw my email and then David's email in here as well, so you have that moving forward. Of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. All right, so there's my email. And there is David's email. I see that I've got yours as well, so I'll add you to our list. Thank you for that information. Once we get you added to that list, again, you'll be receiving those daily emails. Just keep an eye out for those. Another thing that I want to direct your attention to here, especially for the folks that are new like Leah, is if you do not yet have an Illinois WorkNet user account set up, we would highly suggest that you do so. I'm going to show you how to. I'm signed in right now, but I'm going to go ahead and sign out here so you can see where to do that if you have not yet already. So you'll see once I logged out up here, you'll see two tabs at the top of the home screen or the home page. Log in, sign up. Obviously, you'd want to select the sign up tab. And then here, there'll just be a listing of required fields that will ask you to enter. Fill out all that information, make sure you click accept agreement, submit, and your account submission obviously will be reviewed pretty quickly, and you'll receive a confirmation email that your account has been created. Once you've done so, feel free to reach out to myself or David, and we'll make sure to get you access to that VJF partner page that I showed you a little bit earlier. And Leah, I'll go ahead and demo that a little bit in depth here once we get through this initial Q&A portion of the event, just so you can see what that looks like. Are there any other questions from folks on the line right now before I go ahead and do so? Go ahead and give it just a few more seconds here. And if any questions do come up, while I move forward and demo this for the folks that might be new, feel free to throw them into the chat. And of course, we'll be sure to get a response to you ASAP. So we'll go ahead and give you a view of what the dashboard looks like for partners that have VJF administrative access here shortly. I'll go ahead and take a brief pause. Leah, I saw that you do have an account on workNet, so feel free, if you'd like, to send an email to myself, and if you could CC David as well, that'd be great. Just let me know what your username is and the email that you use to create the account. I'm assuming it's probably your workforce one, but nevertheless, just go ahead and include that if you would, and we'll go ahead and make sure that you get VJF access. All right, so circling back on the home page here, you'll see this My Dashboard tab. When you click that, again, once you have the virtual job fair tool access, you'll see this logo or icon here. You'll click on that. And again, this will give you a complete listing of all the job booths or employer booths, excuse me, that are in your specific LWIA. Again, I know we've mentioned this, but this is just a complete listing or a comprehensive listing of all the booths that are available on workNet. You won't see this volume of information, if you will, when you log into the VJF tool on your end. You'll just see the ones in your specific LWIA. Moving forward, if we go over to the right-hand side here, you'll see the Virtual Job Fair Event Administration tab. If we click on that, you'll see you'll have the option to take a look at single and multi-employer VJFs. The one that you'll really want to focus on more often than not will probably be the single employer VJF. So we'll go ahead and just give you an idea what this looks like. So you'll see here, this is just a complete listing of all of the outstanding VJF requests that we've had come in, events that have been completed, canceled, so on and so forth. You'll see here, if we scroll down, you'll see open events that we still have. And down here, you'll see that we had a request recently come in from CMS. We'll just go ahead and click on that and let you see what it looks like. So again, this is just the event request page, if you will. So all that information that folks are asked to include when they make a VJF request, that gets housed here in this location. So you'll see the name, the date range that they want to hold the event, the time, if they need training on Zoom, who they'd like to participate with in the session, if they just want a single employer or multi-employer event, target population, they accept non-English speaking employees, if they'll provide a translator, so on and so forth. But you'll see here, this is kind of a big piece of this up here, is the contact information, email, phone number, and then automatically populates based on the information tied to the employer booth, which LWIA the event request will be in. Another important thing to kind of keep in mind here is the status of the event. So you'll see open, in progress, completed, canceled. We'll want to be sure to just update that as we work on the event. So open just means obviously that the request has come in, and we've yet to reach out to the employer. We've yet to really dig into the planning and coordination process, if you will. Once we do that, we would just select in progress and then make sure that we can click the save tab up here. Otherwise, it will not save the information on this page. So just be sure any updates that you make or edits that you make to this page, that you're clicking this save tab here once you're done. Again, once we have a Eventbrite page or registration page, excuse me, set up, and a Zoom invite created and set up. We'll include that information here for folks to be able to access. And then here too, we have this section here for post-event follow-up. We do ask that the workforce partners conduct this if at all possible, since you're kind of boots on the ground for that region, if you will, and you are presumably the point person for the employer when setting up the event, at least initially. So you'll see here we have a field where you can put how many folks were hired as a result of the event, how many attended, and which industries the employer was seeking to hire in. Off to the right-hand side, you'll see the status of that. So if it needs follow-up, if you followed up, and if that's completed, we can update that here. Again, if you do make any updates to the status, just be sure you're clicking save when you're done. And then last but not least, we have a section down here where we can add notes. Scroll up here, we'll just go ahead and say monthly VJF partner demo, just so you can see what this looks like. Make sure you click save, click OK. And then you'll see here any notes that are added to this page, excuse me, will get added down here. We do encourage you to use this feature just so we can all kind of stay in constant communication, see what work has been done towards obviously executing the event. And then that way we also have kind of a written record of where we're at in the planning process too. So we do encourage you to use this note feature if at all possible. And so that's just a real brief overview of the, again, VJF employer dashboard or event administration dashboard, if you will. Again, I know we've covered this in depth in prior webinars, but for the folks that are new, we just wanted to give you all an overview again of what this looks like and how you can access it. So I'll go ahead and take another pause here and see if folks have any questions for me. If you do, feel free to unmute yourself or throw your questions into the chat. Going once, going twice. All right, got to see your question there, Leah. Did you say you need my username and password? Not your password, just username and the email that you use to create the account. And then we'll be sure to grant you the proper VJF access that you'll need to get to that administration page that I just showed you. Awesome, thank you. And again, just remember, homepage, be sure to be signed in. As you can see, I am right now. My dashboard, click that VJF logo right here, and that'll get you to that event administration page that we just covered here. Any other questions for me today? Again, real brief session here today. Again, I have put my contact information in the chat as well as David's contact information in the chat. Of course, if anything comes up that you think of, any questions that you have in using or administering the VJF tool. And of course, last but not least, if there's any VJF requests that you have in your LWIA or region that you'd like to partner with us do not hesitate to reach out. Of course, we'd be more than happy to schedule a time to meet with you and or the employer and get an event put on the calendar and facilitated for you. I know I have David on. David, is there anything else that you'd add before we kind of begin the wrap up here today?
No, I think we are good.
Fantastic. Well, folks, if you don't have any additional questions, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Again, as always, one page that I want to direct your attention to as well, since we do have, it seems like at least one new person on the line, this partners tab here. If you click on that, again, this is at the home page at the top. We scroll down to the VJF guide here. We click on that. You'll see a listing of all the resources that we have related to VJF. And down here, you'll see a listing, excuse me, of all the upcoming monthly webinars that we have for partners. So you'll see, obviously, we're currently on the one for April 1st. Once we hop off of this call, either myself or David will upload this webinar to the Illinois WorkNet YouTube page, and we'll link it here for you to be able to see. So there's anything that you want to go back to, anything that you want to obviously view or review that we covered during these sessions, you'll be able to access them here. You'll also be able to see, obviously, when our next scheduled monthly partner session is. Past events, again, you'll see a complete listing here and what was covered. And last but not least, excuse me, I do want to click on this full list of resources just to show you, especially for the folks that are new. You'll see a complete, basically, repository of all the information that we do have VJF related here. So planning documents, instructional documents, templates that can be used in obviously coordinating and planning the VJF events, and then a complete listing of all the weekly reports that we send to IDES and DCEO since the inception of the tool. So you can literally click any of these reports here and you'll see what, where the numbers sit, how many events have been held, kind of a demographical breakdown of the folks that have attended events, so on and so forth. You can access that information down here under the weekly reports section. I see we did get one more additional question here in the chat. Do you change the website if it says a previous employee's contact info? Yes, that's a great question as well, Leah. Yes, we do. So we would just need that employer to reach out to us, or obviously the workforce partner to reach out to us. And we could absolutely update a contact for an employer. And I'll just go ahead and show you what that would look like. So we'll just take a look here at, go ahead and take a look at St. Louis Bread Company, for instance. So if we go to the edit details tab, actually, you'll be able to see all the information that we have here for the contact person. If we need to update that, obviously we would just, get rid of that name, get rid of that email, and update any of the information here that would obviously be applicable. And then when we're done with that, we go ahead and click Save and Submit Employer Booth, and it'll update that information on the page. And then I do believe there's one other thing that I want to direct your attention to. So you'll see here this managed by, and obviously it's that individual for that company. We can also edit that if need be. So if there's a new point person, we would just click this edit tab. Obviously we would look them up in the system and make sure that they get added. That would be something that David and I would do. We would just need that person's contact information to be updated in order to make them the manager of the booth, if that makes sense. Excellent. Any other additional questions for us today before we wrap things up? Fantastic. Well, if anything does come up, as we always say, feel free to reach out to myself or David. We'll be sure to get you an answer ASAP. Again, you have both of our emails in the chat here. And again, this information will be accessible under the virtual job fair section on the partners tab that we just showed you here again by the end of the day, more than likely. Other than that, I think we can wrap things up. Thank you all for joining today. We thank you for joining and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and, of course, a great weekend. Thank you, everybody.